You too. Have a good one. All right. I want to bring in the man of the hour, Ted Rall. Ted Rall is a political cartoonist and syndicated columnist. What's happening, my man? How you doing this morning, Ted?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I am doing okay. I'm a bit melancholy with world events, but I am here nonetheless. I wanted to leave on a brighter note and bring you on to talk about the killing of the CEO. I know that sounds so grim. That sounds so bad. But we've been talking about Syria, so this is kind of a step up from it, and it's a little bit more honestly comical to me, weirdly enough, as bad as that sounds. More so the reaction from the public. A man gets shot in the back and killed. They find out he's the CEO of a medical company, of an insurance company, the biggest, and the audience applauds. And apparently the McDonald's that turned the guy in has been getting bad ratings because they turned the guy in. Have you seen this? They've been trashing the McDonald's. They have been trashing the McDonald's with reviews saying, oh, this place has rats. This place is horrible. I mean, they've been trashing the McDonald's. McDonald's has had to remove, right here, McDonald's has had to remove some of the commentary that's been on their channel because of it. It's like festering den and police haven. This McDonald's is full of rats. I can't see the other one. This one has 1 star. Like, the reviews have been brutal. And apparently Ken Klippenstein has found, apparently United has given out notes to people to respond in order to explain, to like, what's the word I'm looking for? Opposition. Basically, when people say stuff about the CEO being killed, this is what you can tell them. This is what the things that you can say to try to make the conversation, this kind of corporate friendly way of dealing with that stuff. They've caught the guy. Apparently, maybe.
It looks like
they're saying it's him, and it looks like him. And it sounds like him just from some of the stuff that he is been screaming and stuff like that.
Right.
This was him after he was caught. Let me see if I can find the clip. Here it is. All right. So this is when he was caught. And he screams out right here. Here we are. And this.
Completely out of touch and insult the intelligence of the American people and the lived experience.
Let's try that one more time. Cops are bringing him in.
Completely out of touch and insult the intelligence of the American people and the lived experience.
So he's calling this effectively a farce. Open your eyes or something to that effect. Right here, Luigi Mangione on his way into extradition shouts, "This is a completely out of touch and insult to the intelligence of the American people."
Dude's right.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude is right. I mean, look, I'm going to pose this question to you, Jamal, and I started posing it to some of my sort of more centrist, moderate friends who, like, murder is always wrong, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, so it's World War II, and a guy in the resistance kills a member of the SS who's a mass murderer. All right, so is that wrong? I mean, no, it's not wrong. And it's like, why is it not wrong? Because the SS guy is a mass murderer. And in fact, that's his line of work. It's not even like he just has like an appetite that he can't suppress. He's not a serial killer. He's just like, it's literally, he's in it for the Benjamins. That's it. So, it's kind of worse actually than a member of the SS because at least they were ideologically brainwashed.
This guy's just want profit. Yeah.
So this guy just wants the money. It's cold-blooded murder, and so if you kill a guy like that, I mean, okay, blah blah blah, it's wrong, blah blah blah. Sorry for his kids. Really, truly, the only 2 people I feel sorry in this whole thing are for his boys. That's it. Yeah. Genuinely. But I mean, for the rest of it, I mean, why are we? Let me put it this way: not all people are good people, and some people are bad people. And some people are really bad people.
Yeah.
And this is a really bad person. To put this into perspective, even if you don't care about the issue of the ridiculous, insane healthcare system that was one of the worst parts of, there's also the fact he was an evil CEO from the standpoint of the shareholders. I mean, his alleged insider trading deal dropped the company's value by $25 billion.
Oh,
okay,
jeez.
like literally when he dumped stock, and the CEOs and everyone and the analysts found out that United CEO had dumped stock because they were being investigated by the government for antitrust stuff. They're like, oh God, like, so I mean,
sell. Yeah.
So I mean, like, so okay, so I mean, I understand that within the context of the system, and even let's say we had a revolutionary left-wing government, it would be wrong to let people just whack people on the streets. I get it.
Yeah, we wouldn't chop off heads. Yeah.
Now that said, if we had a radical left-wing government in place, you would need to shoot someone like that because he'd be on trial, and or he'd be re-educated and taught the error of his ways and rehabilitated and allowed to become a productive member of society, which he was not before. So, I mean, the point is that there's no redress within the system. And that's the problem here, right? Like that guy, like people, I've been seeing, I'm reading comments from apologists for, the healthcare industry. They're like, well, you have to work within the system. I'm like, okay, well, agreed. If there's any space whatsoever for reform within the system, but there is none at all. I mean, this healthcare system, and specifically, we'll just stick up to that topic, has been completely not only impervious to reform. The direction, the tide's been running the other way. It's gotten worse and worse. When I was a little kid, my mom had insurance through my father. My parents were divorced. As part of the settlement, she had access to he had to keep her on his insurance. It was Blue Cross Blue Shield. It was old school Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I'm sure that company made a nice sizable profit in the 1970s. Back then, it never occurred to companies like Blue Cross Blue Shield to question a doctor's, prescription or treatment. If a doctor says you need surgery, you get it.
Surgery.
If you need medicine, you get it. And and that was just it. It was basically that Blue Cross was like a platinum card. It was like, basically, you were covered. It was like the best thing in the world. And now, of course, obviously, the crazy thing is, it's almost better if you're middle class or upper or above. You're almost better without insurance today than you are with insurance, because with insurance, you're paying maybe $1,000 or more a month. And if you're a fairly healthy person, you don't spend $12,000 a year on healthcare. I don't. I'm 61 years old, and I don't spend $10,000 a year on healthcare, right? So I spend $10,000 on the healthcare. Then there's the deductible, which mine is $12,000 a year.
Ouch.
So basically, they just never pay. So I pay them. The only reason I keep it is in case I get hit by a bus or something. So that
catastrophic care.
$4 million bill, then my mom broke her hip, $1.2 million, broken hip, hip operation, I guarantee you, hip operation in Russia, China, France does not cost $1.2 million. So it's like, so it's just I feel really sorry that this guy, Luigi Mangione, has been arrested. The system is going to throw the book at him. And it's wrong. I would like for there to be some way for him to walk. I would like President Trump to pardon him. But there's probably not. These are probably going to be local charges.
I don't get the sense that. I don't get the sense Trump is going to do that.
And he wouldn't anyway. But
I think I can't say I disagree with you. Like, I understand the argument, right? It's like, okay, this guy has killed one person, and this other guy has been responsible for this kind of bureaucratic killing of thousands.
Yeah,
just from denying care. Like, his job on some level is to deny care. It's like, we need to maximize our profit. How do you maximize
like if he decided to be a wuss, right? Like, let's just say he hasn't, Saul on the road to Damascus moment, right? He has the Holy Spirit appears to him, and he goes into the boardroom one day, and he's just like, guys, we make so much money, and I've crunched the numbers, and here's a spreadsheet, and our profits would go down, but we'd still have a nice sizable profit. We could change the whole way we do this. We could stop just routinely denying care. Come on, guys, let's do it. Okay, how long does he last, right?
They would tell him to go F himself in a heartbeat.
He's gone.
Yeah. I mean,
and
I
they
guess
haven't learned anything. The parents, I'm sure you saw the leaked video from the parent company of United Healthcare. The CEO of that company, he gave day or two after the killing, he gave he issued a video release to his employees, basically saying, "This is all nonsense. We deliver a vital service. We make sure people get the care they need and not the care they don't need. Buck up, little
nonsense.
United people. We're awesome." It's like you're
Nonsense.
not providing
Look, man, my
a
mom
service.
had needed medical care for something. She has bad knees, and the doctor prescribed medication or prescribed a procedure, and the insurance company was like, "Yeah, we don't think you need that procedure." It's like, who the
Right.
F are you?
And they never even called her or her doctor, right? They never even got on the phone and said, "Hey, so Dr. Smith, why do you think Mrs. Thomas needs this procedure?" It's like, right? They didn't do that. They don't.
Nope.
It's just some person. It's completely opaque. The answer is just basically, it's sort of like, there's some people that the answer is always no to most questions. And that's there, right? They're just like, it's no, unless you can figure out a way to like pressure them or, whatever.
Well, it's outrageous.
Who are they to decide that?
And it's not just him.
You and your doctor.
It's all of them, right? I mean, like all of the insurance companies, you have various degrees of bad in regards to insurance companies. One of the best things that Sanders was pushing was this idea of getting rid of these healthcare companies. I am
absolutely
1,000% for
Leeches.
it. Other countries do it cheaper. We need to engage this notion of how do we pay so much more for healthcare, and yet rank number 42 or something like that in regards to the World Healthcare List. Cuba is
number
higher
68
than
now. They're literally
it's getting worse.
They're just a middleman. I mean, it's like in New York when you want to rent an apartment. You rent it, you see the ad, then you show up, and then there's some broker, a rental broker, and they charge you like basically 2-3 months rent as a fee. And you're like,
right.
Well, you don't provide any service at all. I mean, the landlord listed this. I'm here. I want to rent it. I mean, it's just a shakedown. That's all it is. And that's what health insurance is. I mean, it can be done differently. I mean, look at auto insurance. I mean, look, I've had accidents. It's like, it's pretty routine. They're like, they're like, go to this garage. And they can fix it. They'll tell you how much they can fix it for. And then we'll send you a check for that amount, and you can use it either to have the car fixed, or you can just keep the check and drive around with a dent in your car. That's on, and that's like, it's a pretty good system. I mean, it works. It's like, why not do that with healthcare? But they've gotten so out of control. I mean, the horror stories that have come out since the killing of Brian Thompson. I mean, I didn't even know there are people who literally have they're insured, right? This is really important. These are insured. They pay for insurance, and their employer pays for insurance. And literally they get cancer or some other horrible disease, and they literally can't afford with insurance the treatment. So they go without it and die in screaming, agonizing pain so as not to impose that debt on their crushing medical debt on their families. Okay, that's absolutely heinous and disgusting.
Do they know what obviously the medical thing is his motivation, but do they know why? Like, was there a family member that died? Was there somebody?
They're trying to, there's speculation. The closest speculation that we have now is that he had this back surgery that he posted about on his socials. And it looks pretty severe, right? Apparently he had back troubles, and then it got really bad after a surfing accident. He was a surfer dude. And that happened a few years ago. And I mean, look, everybody who's ever had back pain of any sort knows it's really horrible. And he had sciatica and really severe back injury. He had these 4 giant, nails put into his back, basically. Now, he said that the surgery went pretty well. But I thought it was interesting. He's 26 years old. Under the Affordable Care Act, you're no longer on your parents' discount plan. My son's 20 years old. He's on my plan until he's 26. And the plan he's on is $9 a month. So it's basically nothing.
That's all?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, when you're 18 to 26,
that's right. You're on your parents.
It's a good deal. But then, so he's just got thrown off his parents. Now his parents are pretty rich, so I don't really know what's going on there. But anyway, I'm thinking, he may have had issues trying to get PT, physical therapy, and or the proper opioids prescribed, because their routine, it's very standard for these companies to limit physical therapy to like really extremely, because it's like it can take months, years sometimes.
I know.
And it's like, but they'll say like, okay, well, we're giving you, 1 month of PT or something like that. My mom broke her hip, right? Completely separated from the socket, completely. They were like, we're going to give her 2 full weeks of, and she had great insurance, relatively. 2 full weeks of PT. 2 weeks. So
that's outrageous.
So, I mean, I had to pay, while grieving for my mom, who would be dead about a year later. I'm an only child, I'm no father. It's like, so I had to pay out of pocket for all that. I mean, it wiped out a lot of my savings.
By the way, my grandmother, a similar thing, right? Where it's like she gets older, she needs a nurse, and you would think that there would be some assistance for this. Not so much. That stuff you, for the most part, have to pay out of pocket, short of maybe a tiny amount of assistance that you might get in some way. I remember when I was younger, I had knee pain. I had very bad knee pain, and I remember, neuropathy, and I had lost basically, I was having difficulty walking. I had lost the feeling, my ankles and feet, that type of stuff. And so they were like, okay, well, we'll send you to physical therapy. And they were like, we'll send you to 3 or 4. And it's like, so you realize this is chronic, right? Like,
right. 30 or 40 would not be enough, right?
No, right. I mean, it's like, what do you think that 4 is going to do? I might as well just not go. What's the point? Like under that model, like our system is trash.
It's trash. Oh,
people around the world don't get it.
And nobody has, eye insurance. Nobody has dental. And, dental is hugely important. I mean, oral health is absolutely key, not just to your teeth, but to your entire body.
Your heart, circulatory system
there, yeah? And so there's no system at all. Oh, and forget about mental health, right? Mental health parity is literally federal law, completely unenforced. No coverage at all for, any kind of mental health issues at all. I had when I was 18, my girlfriend died in a car accident. Call the insurer. They're like, we will cover 3 visits to a therapist. 3. It's like, my girlfriend's dead. Okay. Like, whatever. We don't care.
I think you're ignoring the fact that it was a really good therapist, though. He was going to solve that issue in like 2.
This is
settle it in a heartbeat.
I'm glad you brought that up. I did go once and I never went back because he was so bad. So I was kind of like, maybe 2 wrongs make a right. Maybe the insurance company was right. They knew something I didn't know. Like, you won't need 3. 3, one's more than enough. This guy sucks. He's gonna sit there and be like, tell me about your mother. I mean, he didn't have the accent, but he was like, tell me about your mother. Like,
that's what he did. I've never been a therapist like that. So it
was old school. It was 1981,
Oh, really? Like,
yeah, they're better now. I mean, they're still therapists.
Like, you were touched as a child, and that's why you're feeling the way you feel right now, that type of stuff.
Yeah. It's like, no, not really. This has nothing to do with my mom.
It's like, no, she didn't abuse me. Are you certain she didn't abuse you? Like,
she did, but that had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Wow, that's well. I would imagine New York is somewhat divided over this. So fair enough. That's not the only case New York is divided.
I mean, I don't know anybody who doesn't think that he's a rock star. There are signs in people's apartment windows that say like, "Come stay with me," with his name on it. Safe space, like, or hashtag, free Luigi.
Yeah.
No, I think most New Yorkers are.
They know. It's like anybody that has to deal with healthcare system, they get it. They understand it. You would think that level of outrage, like, because anyway, you put it, that's a sign of outrage. Yeah, that you would think that will wake people up, right? That's outrage for people to say, "Yeah, good job shooting that guy." You would think they would be like, "Whoa, we are really."
Have you ever heard anything like this ever? I never
No,
heard. Osama bin Laden didn't come close.
no,
In New York,
not.
it didn't
I
come
mean,
close.
this level of applause.
No.
No, I've never seen anything like this. The other one that's hitting the news in New York that's more divided is Daniel Penny, acquitted. Now, you and I were talking about this before about whether or not he was going to get acquitted or not. And like I told you, I was somewhat divided on this. I don't take an issue with him initially putting hands on him. I take issue with him killing him, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah,
there's no point that you could have stopped doing that before he actually died.
well,
And
of course there
especially,
was.
of course there was, right? And so I get New Yorkers. I guess my thought was, okay, this was a jury versus peers. These people must have been on the subway system, so they must have had an inkling of what it was like to be on New York subways. Maybe they felt some kind of way. This is him. I do think the chest thumping, meaning even if you say, okay, this was unfortunate, he didn't try to kill him. I think he did try to kill him, but whatever. He didn't try to kill him. The chest thumping and the applause after the fact is gross. And when he was asked, he's doing an interview and he says, I want to get your take on this.
Attention.
Let me go back to the beginning.
I mean, I'm not a confrontational person. I don't really extend myself. And like, this type of thing is very uncomfortable. All this attention and limelight is.
Wait, real quick. The guy who says, I'm not confrontational, I just killed a guy. I'm not very confrontational. I just kill people every so often when I'm on the subway system. It's like, okay, buddy, I'm gonna take that with a grain of salt. Let's
I mean, I'm not a confrontational person. I don't really extend myself. And like, this type of thing is very uncomfortable. All this attention and limelight is very uncomfortable. And I would prefer without it. I didn't want any type of attention or praise, and I still don't. The guilt I would have felt if someone did get hurt, if he did do what he was threatening to do, would never be able to live with myself. And I'll take 1 million court appearances and people calling me names and people hating me just to keep one of those people from getting hurt or killed.
I mean, dude, I don't hate you. I don't have any feelings towards you one way or the other. I just don't want you killing people on the subways. And like, I applaud. Look, I guess in the very beginning, I applaud this notion of saying, all right, people are being threatened. I don't want these people to be injured. I'm going to get involved. Fair enough. I get that, right? I mean, Neely is being aggressive and he is, scaring the hell out of people on the subway. Fair enough. I get that. You put the guy in the chokehold. Okay, fair enough. You put your hands on him. Fair enough. At some point, you have to be able to say, okay, this is enough. And the argument that, well, I'm terrified. You're terrified as you have him in a chokehold? That's when you're terrified? Like, oh man, it's the death part that gets me. It's not necessarily the initial getting involved. It's choking a man literally to death. That seems to be a bit extreme to me, but what's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously, right? I mean, the thing is, following George Floyd, a lot of police departments, including NYPD, finally banned these chokeholds, right?
Right.
So let's be clear here. This guy just got off the hook as a civilian for doing something that a trained law enforcement officer could go to prison for doing. So
yeah.
Context, right? So I think what happened here, and I think it's very telling that as far as I know, none of the jurors have had any comments about this. They haven't spoken to the press. I think what happened here is this is all about reasonable doubt. I think, it came down to, I mean, if I have to speculate about what happened here, first of all, no one should use a chokehold in any circumstance whatsoever, unless you're being attacked and you're going to be killed imminently, like there's a knife or something and you're really scared to death. But then the thing is, there's a certain point where, the person stops moving. The train entered the station. I have a problem with that. At this point, the train enters the station. Those doors open. You can hurl this guy aside and make your escape. Punch him if you have to, but, punch him hard, but, get out. in fact, why? But I think what happened is that he froze. He kind of like, once he had this, he kind of like went into some kind of
He locked.
state.
Yeah.
He lost it. He locked. And I think that's what happened. I think that for the jury and also for New Yorkers writ large, we kind of are like, okay, this guy's a creep. He appears on News Nation, right-wing media. He's a creepy dude. He referred to the guy as a crackhead, to Neely as a Jordan Neely as a crackhead. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know about you. I haven't heard anyone really use that term in decades. Like, it's not really, it's kind of like a weird, old-fashioned, racially, loaded term, right? And so I was kind of like, I don't like this guy. He's a weird right-wing former Marine. Okay, fine. That doesn't mean that he shouldn't walk, maybe.
Right.
But I think what happened here is there's reasonable doubt. He did wrong. But I think that there is reasonable doubt. And I think that in the end, the real jury was the witnesses who were on the train with him, who all said, we'd never seen anything like it. We're regular commuters. Being a regular commuter on the New York City subway, you see crazy shit every day. And so if to me, if someone says that, some working class person who's on the train every day says, "Oh my God, this was at a different level," I'm gonna give that to them, and I'm
the
gonna
benefit of the doubt.
I'm gonna give them. So there was doubt. And you just have to think it was a different situation than normal. I mean, it is true. I've heard a lot of crazy stuff. People, schizophrenic people, but normally you don't really hear like somebody's going to die today. I don't care if I go back to prison. That's terrifying. Okay.
Yeah.
It's usually a lot more random. I thought the fact that it was a, culturally and ethnically diverse group of witnesses and pretty big. It reminds me a lot of this was very reminiscent of the Bernard Goetz incident in 1984. Similarly, also happened in the Village, same neighborhood. Just this was like maybe 6 blocks away from where that happened. And when the police arrived on the scene of chaos, the people who stuck around on the number 2 train, Uptown train, said, he went that way when in fact he'd gone that way. So
basically helping him out. Yeah.
So basically they didn't know him, but they sided with him. Now, Bernard Goetz turned out to be like a right wing, like again, a creepy, weird dude. But I mean, I'd say he ended up getting vindicated in the long run by the fact that the people he shot went on to live disreputable lives, one of whom like raped one of his 80-year-old neighbors on the roof of the projects, right? And so, I mean, that's kind of like, okay, it's kind of like no good people here, really, right? I mean, Bernard Goetz, not really a good person, but because, I mean, like he shot them all. And then at one point he said, "Oh, you don't look so bad, have another," and shot the guy who was on the ground. Now, to me, that would have been a serious problem as a juror. Okay, because in New York, the law says that you're allowed to use deadly force when you're facing an imminent threat. But if there's no imminent threat, you're not allowed to use deadly force.
Yeah, you can't just shoot somebody who's already shot laying on the ground. It's like, hey, you don't look too bad.
Yeah, like, all right, Clint Eastwood, I mean.
And just so I'm clear, Neely said somebody's going to die today. He literally said that.
Yeah, he did.
He ended up being right, ironically. But yeah, that is a terrifying thing to hear at the moment. Ted Rall, political cartoonist, syndicated columnist, host of the TMI news show with Manila Chan, 10 to 12. This is on YouTube also, so definitely check them out. And Rumble. Got to have backup just in case.
Yesterday we had
ways about him.
Did you have issues yesterday morning with the stream? We did. We were not able to broadcast yesterday.
Really?
The stream was down. Yeah.
So it worked. My sound was off.
That's what
I had no idea why.
That was
okay. So it wasn't just me. Okay,
it was not you.
I went 20 minutes with them saying, "We can't hear you. We can't hear you. You could bring your lips." And when I finally look at it, I'm like, "Dude, all of my volume is right. Everything is right. Everything is right." And I had to restart the stream in order to get the stream working again. Yeah. Ted, thanks, my man. I really appreciate it, man. Have a good show.
Take care.
You have a good one.